In October 2017, the New Yorker magazine published an explosive story with 5 women, some well-known actresses, going into detail of sexual harassment and assault by Harvey Weinstein. 16 former and current executives and assistants at Weinstein's companies corroborated the allegations and others, including hush payments. Investigative journalist Ronan Farrow had spent months working on the story for America's NBC network, but took the story to The New Yorker when NBC tried to bury it. It later emerged that NBC itself had a pattern of buying the silence of women harassed by men at the network, notably breakfast anchor Matt Lauer. He was ultimately sacked. Now, Ronan Farrow's new book, Catch and Kill, details exactly what it took behind the scenes to get the story published. Ronan Farrow, you were a reporter at NBC. You had some rock-solid reporting on Harvey Weinstein ready to go, including a tape recording of him sexually harassing a woman, details of a related police investigation into a sexual assault, other women on the record. NBC kept putting off running the story. Why?
I think in the end, while there was indeed a specific plot involving specific things that were held over this specific network, the point is bigger than NBC. It's bigger than even Harvey Weinstein. This is about the role the media plays in all of our free democracies, and this precious institution that holds the powerful accountable. And the book, I think, illustrates just how dark a place that can go to when our free press doesn't live up to its obligations and acquiesces to powerful people trying to quash reporting.
What was the tipping point in this story where the media was no longer able to ignore the Weinstein allegations?
Right. I mean, this is a great illustration of why all of us as journalists staying tough and calling on the executives and editors above us to stay tough is so important, because the failure to be that tough is exactly why Harvey Weinstein was able to allegedly continue his predation for years. People got hurt as a result of this. And, I think part of what changed was just sources were incredibly brave in a persistent way year after year. There were the accusations about sexual harassment at Fox News. There was the renewal of the claims against Bill Cosby in the States. Obviously, Australia has had its own set of Me Too stories. There was a tipping point where survivors of sexual violence of any gender, but especially women in that first moment, said enough.
What lengths did Harvey Weinstein go to in order to have your story spiked?
In my case, I had private spies sent after me with false identities to try to extract information about my reporting. I had another set of private spies who were sent after me to literally chase me and follow me around. There was an effort to intimidate me. There were legal threats. There was the destruction of my day job as a television reporter because he was able to come to those arrangements with the network that I was working at. So, these are a set of obstacles that are significant and they shouldn't happen to reporters.
What sort of insight did your experience give you into what the women in this story went through?
Well, I think that's one of the things that kept me on track and kept me strong, because as unsettling as this was, and I won't lie to you, having your apartment surveilled, being staked out, having the increasing sense that you're being followed and wondering if you're crazy to suspect that, and then realizing it's true, there really is a conspiracy, you are being chased, all of that is frightening. But it paled in comparison to the trauma that these women went through, the risk that they took in telling their story to me, the painful process of going on the record about, for many of them, the worst moment of a lifetime.
What sort of track record did NBC have itself in paying off victims of sexual harassment?
So I've now done a couple of stories on the media world. I broke a story about CBS in the United States, which was about a pattern of payouts and cover-ups within that company that then created a rot in their corporate culture and informed their news coverage. And what I found after a couple of years of investigating NBC was very similar. A chain of executives that were accused of misconduct of various types. Andy Lack, one of the executives involved, there are multiple women who go on the record saying that when they were working underneath him, he propositioned them and slept with them and retaliated against them. But more than that, a broader pattern where in a period where this company was claiming that they had never paid off anyone with a harassment claim, I was able to uncover, in fact, 7 such instances of non-disclosure agreements being brokered to cover up misconduct.
How much did your sister Dylan's experience in pursuing your father, Woody Allen, for sexual abuse and the lack of consequences for him influence your approach to this story?
You know, this was a painful part of my personal history that became a part of this story because it was weaponized against me. It started showing up in Harvey Weinstein's letters, his threats to sue me. And it meant confronting an old, painful trauma in my own life. And I felt it was important to tell that story because in every story I report, there are sources who have a brother, a father, a husband in their ear saying, "Why don't you just shut up?" And I was that guy for my sister. I didn't understand why she kept bringing this up. I thought it was counterproductive. I thought it would overshadow the work that I was trying to do, the work that I knew she had the potential to do. And in the end, it took really looking at the evidence and understanding how credible and serious her claim was to evolve on that issue, to instead start to think, oh, actually, she is doing something really brave, and I have let her down.
Beyond the downfall of Harvey Weinstein himself and his criminal prosecution, what broader changes do you think that this story has brought about?
Well, you know, our job as journalists is not to enact change. We're not activists. But I do think that the best reporting sometimes can have consequences and create accountability. And, you know, as you mentioned, the resumption of criminal investigations around Harvey Weinstein was one of those. But also more broadly, jurisdictions around the United States have started to reconsider how non-disclosure agreements are handled, whether they're allowed in cases of sexual violence. So it's my hope that the product of this careful multi-year investigation is at least an incisive conversation about what needs to change in the media to make sure that it is the instrument of truth-telling and accountability creating that it can and should be, and not an instrument of suppression.
Well, go and get some rest. It's been good to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.